do not understand what I am talking about while I'm going through this, please tell me, okay? Don't sit there going, I still don't understand, because otherwise I've wasted my time today and I'm not helping you. The whole point of spending this time today going through this is to be able to help you as best I can. So if I'm going too fast or if you still don't understand, cut me off and ask me politely to go through it again, okay? I do really, really want everybody to be able to learn as much as they can about how to answer these sort of questions, because once I go through them, usually people are like, oh, that makes sense, okay? But you need to really understand it yourself. So grab a different coloured pen to what's on your actual test and we'll go through it quickly. So non-calc, and I'm sorry that it's not on an actual test paper, I just can't find it. Non-calc, question 1 is all about Pythagoras. Now, both of these are in a non-calculator section, and so you should have been able to straight away in your head look at it and go, and in your head go 3, 4, 5. What other numbers should come into your head straight away? 6, 8, 10, and 5, 12, and 13. As soon as you see Pythagoras in non-calculator section, those are the numbers which should come into your head and you go, probably it's going to be these numbers. I'm not guaranteeing it, but probably. So the first one, how to triangle. I'm not going to write the measurements because it's going to take too long. Oh, wow, there's a 6, 8. What's the other number going to be? 10. Straight away, 2 marks. Easy as, took you 10 seconds. It's worth 2 marks. That means if you wrote the wrong answer in here, you would lose all 2 marks if you just wrote 12 in there or something like that. However, if you write the correct answer, so if you wrote 10 millimeters, you would have got both marks. However, I do like it if you can possibly write at least the, so x equals the square root of 6 squared plus 8 squared. That's what our answer, that gets you the first line of working out. So if you make a mistake with your answer, your first line of working out, that's actually what the first mark comes into. Because it's worth only 2 marks, if you get the right answer, you get both. If you get your answer wrong and you wrote that first line, that's where you get your first mark from. Where most people lost marks for this question was actually just forgetting to write millimeters and measurements in there. Question, Harry.
Oh, no, I was going to ask, like, for those ones you have to write working out.
So as soon as it's worth 3 marks, you have to write working out. If it's worth 2, it means that there's usually 2 processes. So you could get 1 mark for a process and 1 mark for an answer, which is what is done here. However, because it's only worth 2, if you know the answer is definitely right, you're going to get both marks for it. All right, the second one is 13, 5, x. What numbers have we already come into our head so we should know the answer already? 12. You should have been able to answer that really quickly. However, if you wanted to use Pythagoras, you could have also said x equals, and because it is the shorter side, we're going the hypotenuse squared, take the shorter side squared, which is 169, take 25. Where most people went wrong with this wasn't the first step. It was not knowing how to square like 13 squared and things like that. So people had trouble more with their easier math skills, so you need to practice those as well. So square root of 144, so x equals 12 centimeters was your answer. Any questions? All right, conversions. Now, we did lots of conversions, and I did the day before your test say there will definitely be all of these conversions in your test. I would say at least 50% of you really, really struggled with the conversions, especially the second half of them. So straight away, you should be thinking about what are we actually doing? We're going centimeters, meters, kilometers. It might be squared, it might be the other way around, but let's think about this. We're going divide by 10, divide by 100, divide by 1,000, and so on down the bottom. The way I kind of think about it is actually this is 1 decimal place. We're moving 1 decimal place. We're moving 2 decimal places. We're moving 3 decimal places. This is for length. When you get to area, when it's squared, how many decimal places are we moving? So it actually doubles. So we go 2 decimal places, 4 decimal places, 6 decimal places. When we're going to cubed, it goes up again by the same amount. So we end up with 3 decimal places, 6 decimal places, 9 decimal places. So it's timesing the first one by 3 and so on. So if I can sort of, sorry, that's a bit confusing to read, and so on. So this is for length, this is for area, this is for volume. So for the first one, it says 1,500 centimetres to, sorry, metres to centimetres. And so we're looking at length and we're going from metres to centimetres. So we're moving, we're at timesing by 100, which is 2 decimal places. And we're timesing it so it's going to get bigger. So decimal place right now is here. We're moving it 2 places to the right. We're making it bigger. So 150000 is our answer. The next one says 435 millimetres to metres. So again, it's length. Millimetres to metres is we're going across there. So we're moving by 1 decimal place and then we're moving by 2 decimal places. So how many in total are we moving? 1 and then 2. So we're moving 3 decimal places. And it's going to get smaller because we're dividing. So to the left. And so right now the decimal place is here. We're moving 3 decimal places to the left. 1, 2, 3. So we end up with 0.435. That's our answer. So this one was 2 decimal places to the right. I am putting this on the OneNote and the video so you can go through it again if you need to, but please ask questions if you're having trouble. The next one says 51725 centimetres squared to metres squared. So this time we're going centimetres squared to metres squared. So we're going centimetres to metres squared. So it's going to get smaller and we're moving by 4 decimal places to the left. So right now the decimal place is here, 4 decimal places to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we end up with 5.1725. If you write the tables up the top, it does get easier for you to when you're answering the questions. Next one is 0.062 kilometres squared. So again, it's area to metres squared. So kilometres squared to metres squared, we're going back this way. So it's 6 decimal places, but we're making it bigger by 6 decimal places. So it's to the right. So right now we're here. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got to add in 3 zeros. So 6, 2, 0, 0, 0. Question. Ask it. Have you got a question? All right. Part E is 735 and 4 zeros. Meters cubed. So we're looking now at volume to kilometers cubed. So this time we're going from meters cubed to kilometers cubed. 9 decimal places, but it's going to get smaller because we've got meters. We're going to go to kilometers, so there's going to be less of them. Okay, so we're going 9 decimal places to the left. So we're starting here and we're going 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've got to add in 2 zeros before the decimal place. So 0.00735. We don't need to write the zeros at the end because they don't actually mean anything. If you did, that would still be correct. It's fine. That's probably the one most people got wrong. And that's understandable. It's quite hard. All right, last question says 1250 cubic meters, and it says to litres. And you'll also notice that it's got 2 marks there, unlike the others. So usually there'll be 2 processes to get through. if it's 2 marks. Like it should be able to give you 1 mark out of 2 for it. Okay, so if we look at that, you should have been able to tell that 1,250 cubic meters. How many liters are there in a cubic meter? We're not sure, but we should know that there is 1 cubic meter is 1 kiloliter. Okay, but there's not 1. So 1,250 kiloliters you should have been able to get to, because 1 cubic meter is 1,000 liters or a kiloliter. But it's asked you to, so that would get you 1 mark, but it's asked you to find how many liters there are. How many liters are there in a kiloliter? 1,000. So we need to times it by 1,000. Excuse me. So we're adding 3 zeros. And that's the other question most people didn't get full marks for. Any questions? All right, question 3. Question 3, we did try and do similar questions prior to your test and this sort of leaving as exact form. The reason why we say leaving as exact form is you can't work out pi without a calculator. So the first answer actually you could find the answer to. It's just the second one you couldn't. All right, so the first question has perimeter and area for this shape. Sorry, it's badly drawn. And where most people went wrong was that they forgot what the word perimeter meant and they found area, or vice versa. Or they didn't break down this shape very well. Okay, so these are all in meters. Sorry, there isn't an 11 there. So if we look at this, because it's all like right angles, we should be able to work out what these other 2 sides are. So this side here on the right-hand side, this one, we should be able to work it out because we've got 4 here and 15 on the left-hand side. What's left over to be able to make sure it stays even? 11. So we should be able to work out that that one is 11. And on the bottom, we've got 10 and 11. So we should have been able to work out that this was 21. That would be the first thing I'd do for anything we're trying to find the perimeter of. Then the perimeter is just adding up all of those numbers. A lot of people actually just made little adding up errors. So 15 plus 10 plus 4 plus 11 plus 11 plus 21, which equals 72 meters. And that was the answer. Second one was area. Now we needed to split it up. There were 2 different ways we could find the area. We could split it into a number of different shapes. I looked at it and I said, okay, so I'm going to go break it down here. And I've got 10 by 15. So this part here is 10 by 15. So it's 150 meters squared. And then how would I work out this part here? 11 times 11. So I've got 150 plus 121, which equals 271 square meters is your answer. That question really everybody should have gotten right. It's not that challenging. Or at least for question 2 for the area, at least got the working out right, even if you couldn't get your times tables right. But you should know all your times tables up to 12 times 12 and including 13 times 13. You don't need to know your 13 times table, but you do need to know what 13 times 13 is. Okay? Second part, so for B, we had a different sort of shape. Where most people went wrong was either they thought that this line was part of the perimeter, which it's not. It's just showing you the diameter of half a circle. Or they forgot that it was only half a circle. Okay, most people actually knew the formulas for circles. They just didn't realise that there was only half a circle. So for the perimeter, if we look at this, we've got 10 meters. We've got 16 meters. What's the radius of this circle? 5. You're going to need to know that. And this top side here is going to be 16 as well, so we can add that in. So the perimeter, now notice this is worth 3 marks, is the 10 plus the 16 plus the 16. A lot of people forgot to add on that extra 16. Plus half of, how do we find the perimeter of a circle? Circumference. 2 pi r, or pi times the diameter. So pi r squared is for area. 2 pi r, okay? So half of 2 pi r. Now, and so r, and our r is 5. So in a non-calculated section, we now need to sort of simplify this down. So we've got 42 plus half of 2 times pi times 5. What's half of 2? Just 1. So these kind of cancel each other out. So it's just 42 plus 5 pi is your answer. Meters. Can everybody see how I simplified that down though? Yes? All right, so for area, we had area equals, we need to find the area of the rectangle. So we're saying 10 times 16 plus the area of half of a circle. What's the formula for a circle? Pi r squared, but half of it. So half of pi times 5 squared. That line should get you a mark. But then we've got 160 plus half of 25 times pi, or 12 point, or you could have written it like that, or you could have written it as 160 plus 12.5 pi. These are all numbers you should be able to work out. 5 squared is 25. Half of that is 12.5. Any questions on the first section? Anyone think they need extra marks for something which they actually deserve? All right, second section. All right, question 1 was actually done quite well, but most people actually did about, I would say, 5 minutes extra working out compared to what you needed to do. However, most people did well and got the answer anyway. It's just that you sort of worked harder than you needed to. So if we look at this shape, it's like a little Pac-Man shape. Okay, this says 44 degrees. This says 15 meters in diameter. All right, so the first thing I'd be doing is going, okay, so what's the radius? What's the radius of this? The diameter is 15, 7.5. Now that means this side here is 7.5 meters and this point here is 7.5 meters, which is where most people made a mistake. Okay, so if we wanted to find, now I want to show you this. Most people found 44 degrees. They looked at the 44 degrees and they found 44 degrees and then they took it away from a whole circle. What might be, if you're going to find 44 degrees, what might be an easier way of being able to work out the area or the perimeter of this rather than looking at 44 degrees? What about finding the actual inside of the shape? How many degrees is that? 300, you've got a calculator. You could have worked it out in your calculator if you needed to. The shape is actually 316 degrees. So rather than finding the whole circle and taking 44 degrees, like that sector out of it, it's probably easier just to find the actual sector which we're talking about. However, most people still got it right even if they use the 44. So for this, we need to find the perimeter of the shape. And where people went wrong was either they forgot the 2 lots of 7.5 or they couldn't remember how to find a sector. Okay, so to find a sector, we have the amount of degrees we're looking for. So 316 degrees out of 360 times by 2 times pi times 7.5. So what we're finding here is this is the circumference . This is the angle, the part of it, the section of it we're trying to find. Okay, so we go the amount of degrees in the sector times by our full circumference, and then we need to add plus 2 lots of 7.5. That's the two lines, the 2 radii. 2 lots of the radius. Does everyone understand that? And we put that in our calculator and you get 56 meters. Now we're going to need that number later on. Any questions? Okay, so then determine the area of the body. So that's part A. B, determine the area of the body. Again, people did like 3 steps when they could have just done one. 316 divided by 360. So again, that's that section which we're going to actually be looking at, 316 degrees of a circle, not the whole thing. This time we need to go pi r squared times pi times 7.5 squared. And when you put that into your calculator, you should have gotten 155 square meters. And we need that number for later as well. Any questions? Now, some people left those 2 questions blank. It then meant that the next page, which is worth 4 marks, you couldn't actually answer. Now, another person completely messed up the first page, got them completely wrong, but put 2 numbers in. Put a number in for A and put a number in for B, here and here. They got big crosses on this page. That's fine. They then used those numbers for every question on the next page, and they got 4 marks out of 4. So in the end, even though they completely messed up the first section, they still got 4 marks out of 10 for that question. If you follow through and don't just give up. Okay, so other people just gave up. Don't give up. Get 4 marks out of 10. Get 5 marks out of 10. Get as much as you possibly can. Okay, so for part C, it says, determine the cost of painting the image if the company charges a fixed rate of $150 per square meter. So you needed to get your number for square meters. So how many square meters is it? It's 155, or whatever number you put in there. So I followed through. Whatever number you put into part B. So it's pretty much you just need to go your part B number times by 150. So the correct answer is 155 times 150, which equals $23,250. If you used the decimal places from part B, I also gave you the answer because I feel like that's actually more correct. But because we asked you to round in the last one, I understand if you did. Okay, so that, or if you wrote 23,267.42, I gave you that as well. But whatever your answer, if you showed me the working with your number from part B times by 150, so if you wrote whatever your number was, 62 times 150, and you wrote your answer, you got full marks. But you had to show what you were doing as well. You couldn't just put a number in. So part D says, determine the cost of LED lighting system if the company charges $70 per meter plus a fixed installation cost of $3,500, round to the nearest dollar. So whatever your answer was from part A, you then need to times that by 70 and add 3,500. That's, so again, follow through, but I will use the right answer. So 56. So we're saying 56 times by 70 plus 3,500 equals 7,420 was your answer. However, a lot of you got follow through marks for your own answers as long as you showed that line of working out and the answer, and that number, this whatever number you had here for the 50 instead of 56 was the number you had as your answer for part A. All right, part E says, and this is the next one, which I feel like everyone should have got 1 mark for. All you had to do was grab your 2 numbers from part C and D, so your part C answer plus your part D answer, and write down an answer. A lot of people actually just completely forgot to write an answer down. So they wrote $23,250 plus $7,420, but they didn't actually write down what that actually equaled either. So this was a really easy answer, but it's only worth 1 mark, so I needed to actually have an answer. Again, follow through marks would be given. So whatever your answer was for part C, whatever your answer was for part D, if you showed me that you added those 2 numbers together, so you showed the working out and wrote the answer, you got the mark. Yeah. If you wrote 1 in part C and you wrote 1 in part D, yes. Okay, as long as it's actually followed through from the rest of your answers, then yes. Okay? Any questions? But you did actually have to write an equals and an answer. Okay, because it's only worth the 1 mark. And we did that specifically, like we rewrote this question so that we could actually give you guys the follow through marks from the sections. It was actually at one point all of this was all in one question, and we said, no, hang on, let's break it down so that we can give them follow through marks. When questions are broken down like this, we're actually, what's called scaffolding, we're actually trying to get you to do the right processes to get to the final answer. So allow us to support you to get there, but you've got to actually give it a try. Okay. Okay, question 2. What time does the bell go today? Okay, cool. Okay, question 2. I have a feeling this is the question which everybody suddenly lost it on. They just went, I don't understand. And it's actually not that, well, the first part is not that hard of a question. The second part is probably very challenging, okay? But the first part isn't, okay? But where everybody suddenly freaked out was, it says a metal sphere of radius 10 centimeters. I think everyone kind of forgot that bit where as soon as they saw melted down and they went, what? Melted down? What does that mean? And if you think about it, when we melt something down, we melt it down so it doesn't have a shape. We melt it, but it will still have the same volume. It's still going to have the same amount of stuff in it. So if we melt something down and then make it into something else, both the starting shape and the ending shape are going to have the same volume. So if you see the word melted down, I want you to go, I don't want you to melt down your cells. And then I want you to go, it's talking about volume. All right. So it's to be melted down, made into a square base pyramid with a perpendicular height of 8.4 centimeters. What I feel like a lot of people did was that they didn't read this question properly either, and they didn't use a highlighter. And I think I talk a lot about highlighters in this class, and I get devastated every single time I mark a test because there's about 4 people who've highlighted the questions in total. It's really important that we don't lose things. So you've got to have a sphere. We need to know, sorry, and I've forgotten to write the word radius in there, but that's all right. A sphere of radius 10 centimeters. That's important. If you don't actually take note of that bit, you can't answer this question because that's the actual main bit of information you've been given. It's to be melted down and made into a square base pyramid with a perpendicular height of 8.4 centimeters. They're the most important parts. But then I want to make sense of it. I want to make sense of it in my head, okay? So I'm saying I've got a sphere with a radius of 10 centimeters. It's going to get melted down and it's going to become a square base pyramid with a perpendicular height of 8.4 centimeters. And we don't know what the base is because that's what we're going to be trying to find out. That's what this story is telling us. I've got a sphere with a radius of 10 centimeters. It's going to be melted down and made into a square base pyramid with a height of 8.4 centimeters. And then the question says, find the side length of the base of the pyramid. So that's what we're trying to find. We're trying to find X. So this question is all about volume is equal for both of them because we're melting it down and then making it. Okay, so that's the other bit we need to understand. The volume of this sphere is going to be the same as the volume in this square-based pyramid. So we don't know what X is. That's going to be our final point. So what do you think we need to be able to work out first to answer this question? I don't know what X is, so I can't find the volume of the square-based pyramid, but what could I find? The volume of the sphere. Okay, so the first step is to find the volume of the sphere. So I've got 4 over 3 times pi times 10 cubed. That's just using the formula which is in your formula sheet for a sphere. This would be, these 2 marks for the volume of the sphere would be the thing which I would have expected all of you to get. The last bit is harder. But at least to know there's a sphere there, it has a radius of 10, let's at least find the volume of it. That should get you 2 marks out of 5. Remember, I'm trying to tell you to get some marks, even if you can't get all of them. You should have been able to see that you could get the volume of the sphere. And so that answer is 4188.79 cubic centimetres. So that's worth a mark and that's worth a mark. Okay, so that's where 2 marks out of 5 are for this question. Once I know that, the volumes of the two shapes are equal. All right, so the volume of the sphere is equal to the volume of the square base pyramid. So how do I find the volume of the square base pyramid? What is the formula for finding the volume of the square base pyramid? It's a pyramid, so what's it going to start with? It's going to start with, not a quarter, a third, yeah. Okay, so it's going to be a third of the base shape times by the height. Do we know how to find the base shape? What is the base shape? It's a square. What are the lengths of the square? So a third of the, I'll just write it down, a third of the base shape times by the height. All right, so we know that the base shape is a square. What are the lengths of the base shape? X. All right, so I've got volume equals a third. How do I find the base shape? What do I write there to write the area of the base shape? X squared, a third of X squared, a third of X times X. And then what's the height? 8.4. That would get you a mark. Now, do we know what the actual volume is? Because right now we've got X's in there and we've got volume as being unknown. Do we know what the volume of this is? Yeah, it's the same as the sphere. So this is where we need to then put it into here. And so we've got 4188.79 equals a third of X squared times 8.4. Now all you need to do for that is solve. The solve button is very important. Right? And what you will find is that your answer is X equals 38.7 centimetres. It asks you to answer to the nearest millimetre. So that's 387 millimetres. That's where we've got a mark for your answer and then a mark for in millimetres to make sure it's in millimetres. I think I was probably quite easy and gave people the mark even if they wrote it in centimetres. I'm not sure though, I can't remember. Can people see that? I know people had that trouble with that question. Can people now see how to get there? Okay. Sometimes making sense of the story in a picture will help you to keep you on track. Sometimes other people spend the entire time drawing pictures and don't get anything done either. So you've got to work out how you learn best. All right, it then says, for part B, it says find the surface area of the new pyramid to the nearest millimetre. So if we're looking at a surface area of a square-based pyramid, it means that we've got 4 triangles and 1 square. What are the measurements on the square? .387, okay? And the reason why we did this into millimetres is because you need to use millimetres, square millimetres for your there. So we know that one. Then we need to be able to work out, though, we know this base is 387, but we need to be able to work out what this height is. Can we work that out? If we think about it, and I think this is why this is the trickiest question, okay? If we look at a square-based pyramid, if we're trying to find this length here, down that way on a slant, it actually could make a triangle which is down the middle of the pyramid to the middle of the square, out and up. So we've got that triangle inwards to the middle and upwards. So the height here would be 84. So from the 88.4, this would be half of 387 because it's half of that length across. This is the tricky bit. I get it. But if you actually just picked a number, if you had trouble with this, you're only going to lose 2 marks. You should still be able to do the rest of it. And then we need to use Pythagoras to find x. So to find the slant, we needed to go 84 squared plus 387 over 2 squared, and we would have found that that was 210.946 millimeters. So that's saying that this height here of this is 210.946. So to find the surface area, you would have needed to say 387 squared. You would have got a mark for that. That's the square. Yes. And 84 is the 8.4 of this, the height. Remember how this is 8.4 centimeters, 8.4? So that we can make it all into millimeters, it needs to be in the same measurement. So 8.37 squared plus 4 lots of half base times height. So half of 387 times 210.946. Now, if you got the actual form, even if you didn't get this number right, if you got the formula, you would have got 2 marks. So you should have been able to get 2 marks out of 5 as a minimum. Okay, the rest is a bit more challenging. 2 marks for the slant height because that was that Pythagoras part. And then 1 mark for your final answer. It was the hardest question, I reckon. But you should have been able to get 4 out of 10 without doing the challenging parts. And I did give a lot of follow-through marks if you showed working out in that question. All right, question 3. I'm going to run out of time. Question 3 was pretty much exactly the same as a question which we did from our book. So I was a bit disappointed when people didn't do so well in it. What shape is this? It's a trapezium. Use your trapezium like you need, and I told you need to remember it. Okay, the base shape of this is a trapezium. Now, it also said you need to take off 15 centimeters from the top. So that means our base shape is a trapezium, which has a distance of 2.35 and 1.35 because they're taking 15 centimeters off the top. A lot of you did about 5 extra processes to find that rather than just looking at it like that. Okay, the height between them here is 25 meters. So the base shape, if we find the area of the base shape, so volume equals area of the base shape times height. So the area of the base shape was a trapezium, so 1.35 plus 2.35, 1.35 plus 2.35, which are those numbers I've just written up, divided by 2 times 25. That's the area of the base shape, and then we're timesing by what's the height of the whole thing? 15 times by 15. And you would have got the volume as being 693.75 meters cubed. That question, we did about, I would say 10 of those questions in class. And it's worth 4 marks. All of you should have gotten 4 marks for that. Even if you forgot the 15 centimeters, you should have gotten 3 marks for it. All it is finding the volume of a trapezium. The pool will be treated with a pool salt once filled. all you need to do for part B, now I did give you follow-through marks for this, was you needed to know your number, which was this. You then needed to divide times it by 4.5 because it says 4.5 kilos of salt per 1,000 litres of water. That is how many litres of water there are. 4.5, so that will give us, that's how many litres there are, equals 31218.875 kilograms of salt. And then you need to divide it by 25. So the processes to get marks was to show me that you times by 4.5 and then to show me that you divided by 25. That process is what got you marks in that order. And so you would have found out that there are 125 bags required. Any questions? Times by 4.5, divide by 25. The next section now, even if you got B wrong, as long as you put a number in there, you could have then answered this. Okay, so C said $1.50 per litre of water. So that's your answer from A, 693.75. That just comes straight from part A. So all you need to do was for your answer to part A times by $1.50 plus for your answer to part B times by $1.50. This is where the follow through comes in. And then got your answer. So everyone should have got 2 marks there as long as you put an answer in. It's just your part A answer times by $1.50 and your part B answer times by $10.50. If you showed that working, no matter what your answer for part A and part B were, you should have still got those 2 marks. So most people should have been able to get at least 5 marks out of 9 for that. Any questions? All right, question 4. Is this the last one? All right, question 4 is written a bit confusingly, but it's not that hard, and they've drawn you the picture. Use the picture they've drawn you. So all it's saying is there's a cylinder. It has a diameter of X. Okay, I'm not even doing the outside bit of the cylinder right now because the first 3 marks are just about the inside cylinder. It has a height of 1.5x. Please don't pack up yet. Can you just listen, please? It says, and it tells you that the volume is 1,600 litres. That's what you should have highlighted from the question. I think everyone, again, read all the words and went, this sounds too confusing and gave up. And they missed the fact that it said 1,600 litres of water needs to fit in there. So first question says, determine the internal diameter of the water sump, rounded up to the nearest centimetre. So it's just saying, determine X. Work out what X is what it's asking you. Work out what the diameter is, the volume 1,600. So how do we find the volume? So the first thing is you should have gone, what shape is this? It's a cylinder. What is the base shape of a cylinder? It is pi r squared, yeah? So pi r squared times height. That's the first thing I would have got you to write down. Then I'm going to go, okay, how can I fill this in with the information I've been given? I know that it's 1,600. I know the radius is X. Now the diameter is X. What would the radius be? Half of X squared times by, what's the height? 1.5x. That would have got your mark. All you have to do is put that into solve and find your answer. Just hang on a second, please. So your answer here ended up being 1.111 metres. That's worth 3 marks. That's in metres, so therefore that is the nearest centimetre. Just really quickly, the last question, you then needed to add 10 centimetres to each side. So you need to add 10 centimetres to each side. And so all you need to do is find the volume of that shape, the bigger shape, with the, our external diameter is 1.11 plus 20 centimetres. So it's 1.31. Find the volume and then take 6,000 because 1,600 because that was that answer. And your answer was 0.627 cubic metres. Have a look at the solutions on that. You may go, please make sure you keep up with your area stuff.